Welcome to episode 282 of the Thunder Underground podcast. Trent here, and guess what? Jason's back.
Holy shit, what's up?
Not much. It's been, about a month and a half maybe?
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
It has. I just kind of had to... I was frazzled, needed to recharge the batteries. Also, we had a death in the family. So that was kind of a shock and a lot of stuff to deal with when all that happens. So just kind of needed some time away, but I'm back. So it's all good.
Right. Well, we decided to celebrate by doing an episode of just talking, because when's the last time we did that?
Yeah, nothing but talking.
Yeah.
I'm back, so why not? As Jesse James Dupree says, I'm back, bigger than life and twice as ugly.
Right. Man, that's someone we need to reach back out to again about being on here.
Right.
We did a long time ago, and he sent us all that stuff, but then we never really made it happen.
We should get like a Sturgis recap.
Yeah, sure.
That madness.
Yeah. That's something we could talk about.
Right. Anyways.
But yeah, before we get into all that, as always, we got to let you know who helps support us here with our sponsors, and that's DEB Concerts, a promoter right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that brings a ton of great music to downtown Tulsa. This past year alone, they've brought Last in Line, Buck Cherry, Bisto Blanco, Saxon. Just this past weekend, the IDL threw a show with Dead Metal Society and Rocket Science, two great Oklahoma bands that have both been on this podcast. And coming up in October, on the 23rd, they've got LA Guns coming back. They've been there a couple times, and they're always great, and they've been on this podcast as well. And of course, they've got other shows to be announced, and of course, there's the Poison show that should be announced at some point, the rescheduled date at the BOK Center. Get on debconcerts.com, Facebook, to stay up to date with everything going on. And of course, we'll let you know every week we have this podcast.
Right.
A huge thank you to DEB Concerts. MedFarm is a dispensary located in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma at 24683 East Highway 51. A huge selection you can check out on leafly.com. Their website's medfarmok.com. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram. That's at medfarmok. It's PHARM. They're always running great specials, so follow them so you don't miss any of those. And the special that they're always running is that if you tell them, mention our name, Thunder Underground, they'll give you 10% off your first order, which is very cool. And also, they've got a drive-thru, which is another great bonus feature there. And the biggest bonus feature of all is that 30% of their proceeds are going to build no-kill animal shelters.
Hello.
Yeah. So there's your reason for driving a little bit further. If you're in the Tulsa area, it's only about 15 minutes from wherever you're at. So get over there and help support some animals.
Dude, it's all about the animals.
Yeah. Support the animals and yourself, So.
Right.
Also, Hella Hot Sauce, a hot sauce company based out of the San Francisco Bay Area in California. They make small batch artisan hot sauces. They've got a big selection. If you get on their website, you can check it all out. HellaHotSauce.com. They also do collaborations with metal artists. A couple of those that have been on our podcast. They've got a sauce called Brain Jerk with Ghoul. It's too bad that wasn't around back when we talked to Digester from Ghoul.
Exactly.
We would have had something else to talk about before he, graciously let us walk out of there. But
yeah, with our souls intact.
Right.
Since we're on this hot sauce thing, can I share with you like a testimonial?
Oh, yeah, of course.
So, like I said, we had all kinds of family stuff going on, this whole last month and a half. And so, I saw a lot of my family way more than usual. Both my brothers have always been like, whatever pepper it is, whatever sauce it is, bring it on.
Yeah.
Fuck it. I'm not afraid of it. And so I'm like, okay, well, you gave me that hot sauce, the Florida Frank's Florida Heat. And I'm a puss when it comes to anything hot. Okay. And I was like, well, I'm going to put this to good use. I'm going to bring it over and let my brothers try it. And my oldest brother is like 55, and I guess he's gotten a little softer in his old age. And he was like, give me that. And he smelt it. And he said, fuck this. I'm not even doing it. And so my middle brother is like, fuck it. Give it to me. I'll do it. And he took a huge scoop of it, dipped a tortilla chip in it, a huge scoop. And he's like, that's cool, whatever. And I did something where I left the room or something and I came back. And when I came back, he was like, holy shit. And his eyes were watering. He was like, okay, that crept up on me. That was insane.
Yeah.
And so then, like, a few days later, some Mexican dudes were coming over to buy some furniture he was selling.
Okay.
And I was there, and he's like, you know, these Mexican, I'm not trying to be fucking weird or anything. I'm just telling you, this is what happened. This is what my brother did. My crazy redneck brother. I love him.
Well, I know where you're going. The stereotypical thing is that Mexicans can handle heat.
Yeah, they can handle it.
Because they're used to it.
And he took it out to them, and they could handle it just fine. So I just thought it was funny. And the funny thing was, though, is what he says, like, oh man, let's get that hot sauce that Jay brought that I can't fucking stand.
Oh,
And I just thought it was like, man, he used to be such a man when it came to hot shit. So that's just how hot this stuff is.
Yeah.
It does not fuck around.
Right. When we talked about that the first time we were trying it with Jason Carroll, it's hot when you eat it, but then it's one of those ones that has that delayed kick.
Yes. Cause I thought
the flavor is excellent, but it's like you can't
right.
eat too much of it unless you've got a strong freaking palate or
exactly.
whatever you
And,
call it.
like I said, I can't do this stuff, but it was sent to us and they're gracious enough to sponsor us. I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
And so I try it and, the first bite or two, it's really good. It tastes great. And then hellfire rains upon you.
Right.
And it's like, holy fuck, what have I done to myself? So there you go.
Well, if you want to hear about the makings of that, check out the episode with Florida Frank.
Yes.
Talked about that. Once again, HellaHotHotSauce.com to check all that out. And what do we got left? Sunset Tattoo.
Exactly.
3146 East 15th Street in Midtown Tulsa. Their tattoos are done good and proper. They're state licensed. And above all else, they are mother approved. You can give them a call or shoot them a message to set up a time to get in there to talk about what work you need to get done. Jake and his crew have over 25 years of experience. We know a lot of people that have had work done there.
Yes.
And both of us are well on our way to getting work done there as well. So get on Facebook, Sunset Tattoo Tulsa. Instagram is at Sunset Tattoo Tulsa. And give these guys a follow and hit them up if you need tattoo work in the Oklahoma area. Because the first thing that's the most timely, I guess, would be an actual show that happened, which was Clutch, social distance show. It was just them and their crew.
Yep.
But live stream Clutch did the Doomed Saloon 2 a little over a week ago, because it was the weekend before this one had just happened.
Right.
We checked it out. Our buddy Michael Thrasher came over, and we watched it on the big screen, and we've seen Clutch do... they did Doom Saloon 1, and they've done a lot of YouTube, like 1 to 3 songs at a time.
Just kind of practicing and kind of seeing how it goes, yeah.
And it's Clutch, so they always sound great. There's no wonder like that part of it. But what were your thoughts from just checking this show out?
It was great. I thought that, this stuff is so weird now with all these streaming deals and, the way these bands put it on and what they're doing. And sometimes it seems kind of weird if you're going to put on a big show and there's no one there.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Dropkick Murphys thing was really cool because they did it in the middle of Fenway Park, but it was also weird because there's nobody there.
Yeah.
So I think in a way this Clutch one kind of worked because it was a small space. I mean, they had some lights and some production. So I think it was a good, level for what they're doing. They put the right amount of work into it. They didn't overdo anything. It was cool. The set list was awesome.
Yeah.
And it was one of the, it was like a fan picked set list deal.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, you enter your set list and hopefully it'll get played. And one lucky guy got his set list played and it was great.
It was Marshall something, right?
Yeah.
Because he said,
yeah.
He mentioned, thanks a lot, Marshall, a few times.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but there were some lights and some, there's some camera angles and that was good. And I think, I don't really care how big of a band you are. You can be Guns N' Roses or, Dirty Honey. And I think it still needs to be about the level that Clutch had. If you're not going to have anybody in the fucking room.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, cause it's a weird vibe. So.
Yeah.
So I think Clutch did it right, and that's no fucking surprise, because Clutch pretty much, whatever they do, they figured out the right way. It seems like.
Yeah.
So I think that is for however long all this shit's going to go on, that's probably the best way to do it.
Right.
And then as far as there was a huge merch component to it, which is fucking smart. They're putting it on vinyl and shirts for the goddamn thing. And, that's not me, whatever, but that was smart.
Yeah.
I'm not going to buy a $100 bundle, but a lot of people fucking are.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And, again, the set list was great and they always mix it up and this is no different. And their fans knew that and that's why they submitted crazy set lists. So that was the one thing that was really kind of a crowd pop to me. Is like, I want to see this if it was like a fan picked thing.
Yeah, because that's the thing we always talk about as geeks.
Of course.
What if you had the opportunity to make the set list for a band you love?
Exactly.
And
here's... go ahead.
No, I was going to say, most of the time, if you do that, because you kind of mentioned it about Metallica. But,
exactly. You know exactly where we're going here.
I mean, I would say 90% of bands are going to pick a set list that someone made that at least has, a few of those big hits in it, whatever they're known for. I mean, Clutch has a few of those songs that they're known for. But Clutch is also the band that as soon as I saw they were doing this, I'm like, I bet they'd pick a good one that doesn't include anything you expect. And it was from it opened with How to Shake Hands from the newest album. And then from there on, I would say that it was almost entirely deep cuts.
Yes.
I mean, that's just amazing to me that they went that route. And then I'm in the Clutch group, one of the Clutch groups on Facebook. Yeah. And everybody in there was, and that's like one of those fan bases that are always like, they should play this and this. But everybody was across the board like, this set list's amazing. Good job to that dude. And,
exactly. And, you're right. It's like, what was it 6-7 years ago when Metallica did that festival thing in Europe where, they wanted you to vote on what songs to play. And it was all the fucking stock shit. Creeping Death, Enter Sandman, For Whom the Bell Tolls, Master of Puppets. And I really thought that Europe would show up more. Yeah. So it makes you wonder, are they just controlling this or whatever? I don't know.
Well, they did, Metallica. I mean, we're going to get into Metallica in a bit, but they did that thing here like a month ago on Instagram. Remember where they were doing the vote?
Yes, I remember that, yeah.
Like it was 32 or 64 songs. And I was like, man, if this ends up being like a Final Four of Enter Sandman 1 and Nothing Else Matters and Sad But True, I'm going to be like, these people are fucking lame. But that stuff was there towards the end, but it came down to Master Puppets and I think 1 maybe, or Creeping Death and Master Puppets 1.
Yeah. Well, and you remember back...
Right.
Well, you remember back then when they did that, Lars even came out and said, like, I kind of thought that Europe would, kind of come up with some different shit. Yeah. I was like, oh, fuck. He kind of throwing shade.
Yeah, right.
So, who knows? But then again, that could have been bullshit, too. I don't know.
True.
Which, segues us right into, all the Metallica shit we wanted to get into.
You want to go into that now?
I think it was next, so why not?
I think that's like the biggest chunk of what we're going to be talking about.
Right.
Well, first things first, the drive-in thing was announced a week or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this like when that first started happening, a couple months ago?
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of us were really like, excited about wanting to go to a drive-in to see a show.
No.
It's like I would do it if it was free or if situations like that, but I'm not like clamoring to do it by any means. Because essentially you can just, it's the same thing as doing it in your house. But you're going for a different experience. So maybe once wouldn't be that bad, and Metallica would definitely be one to choose if you're going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I mean, it's your favorite band, so I'd like to know your thoughts. It's like when Garth Brooks did it, and I know other people have done it, they've done it live. It was live and then broadcast all these drive-ins across the nation.
Yeah.
But Metallica's is they're recording it wherever. I don't know if they even said.
It's already done.
Yeah, they're recording it and then editing it together and making a production out of it, which is kind of cool in a way that it's being edited and professionally whatever, but would you rather it be live? Or does that even matter since you're not going?
No,
watch
one,
it later
I'm not going either way, and two, I don't give a fuck either way. $115 a carload, you can kiss my ass.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care. I understand it. The whole thing about it is, hey, get your buddies together, and, no, fuck off. I don't care. $115 a carload. Fuck off.
That's way, way cheaper than a concert, though.
Yes, it is. However,
I mean, you're going to the drive-in for like $18 a person.
However, and that's true. You're totally right. But if I'm going to the concert, I'm fucking there.
Well, yeah.
I'm there, and it's live. So I don't know. It just doesn't. I don't know. Maybe I'm contradicting myself, but I really don't care. Just for me, it's like if you want to go, I'm not judging anyone at all. I'm sure it's going to look fucking cool. I saw a still from it. There's all these like cars around it, and they got this whole production and this set, and it looks cool. Hey, great. But for me, no.
Yeah.
I'm good. And sorry, but it's a big show. They're doing it in drive-ins across the country that they want people to show up to. So it's going to be the same fucking songs.
Well, true. But
so I don't
people are already
pay.
there. People have paid and are going to be there before the set list is revealed. So
well, true. But I just, and fucking A, it's probably going to end up on a box set later or on YouTube eventually or whatever.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
I'm sure they won't release it right after, but they might release it where you can pay for it at home or something.
Yeah, I think eventually that might happen.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the clutch thing. $9, bam, that's good. I get that.
Yeah.
The down thing here in a few weeks, that's $9.
I guess I didn't even hear about that.
Huh?
I didn't even hear about that one.
It's been are you fucking kidding me?
Like Down's doing a live show?
Yeah, it's been like on all the fucking socials, like for like the last 4 days.
I haven't seen that.
And I finally saw The Sandlot, so I can actually say this now. You're killing me, Smalls.
Finally saw The Sandlot.
Yeah, was it August? I think it's the same day that Metallica's is. Down is doing NOLA in its entirety, streaming.
Oh, wow.
And it's like $9.
Okay.
Live.
I'll have to get that.
So it's
Probably.
it's like 5 in the afternoon or some shit. I don't know. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, I would be willing to bet that the Metallica set list at this drive-in show has Fuel on it.
You think?
Hey, they don't always play that, but I'm sure they will because of the whole car aspect.
Oh yeah, totally. And I listened to them on Howard Stern the other day. It was great. 2 hours. They did 3 songs. They talked a lot. It was great shit.
Yeah, I've been meaning to check
right.
What songs did they do?
They did Wherever I May Roam, The Unforgiven, and All Within My Hands.
Oh, okay. Well, speaking All Within My Hands.
Yeah, we can go into S&M too.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously not out yet, but it's coming here in under 2 weeks. That's isn't that the 27th or whatever that Friday is?
And I will have it.
Yeah, you got the box set?
In my chubby little hands. I cannot wait.
You got it's a vinyl box set, right? That also has the Blu-ray and a bunch of other stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that's here in less than 2 weeks. I'm sure we'll be talking about that once we can hear the entire thing.
Right.
But they've released All Within My Hands.
Nothing Else Matters.
and
Moth in the Flame.
yeah, right.
Seems like there's one more, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
Unless that was like last week when we were watching the Clutch thing, we watched that afterwards.
Yeah.
And Moth in the Flame was the one that came out that week.
Maybe
I don't know if something came out this week or not.
Was. You know, and I tell you, of all the fucking the dorky, fucking gigantic fucking Metallica nerd I am, all the questions I'd love to ask them, you know, all this stuff. It's funny that, like, if I had one question to ask any of them right now, it would be about All Within My Hands. How did you take one of the absolute worst fucking songs on any fucking Metallica record? Like one of the worst, like the hardest songs to listen to.
Yeah.
And why did they pick that song? And how did they come to make it into a really special moment that was even before S&M 2, because they'd been doing it acoustic. They've got it on their, their acoustic show vinyl that they did, the Helping Hands charity thing.
Yeah, I think when we did the review on that, you mentioned the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. I know I've said that before, but it just begs to be asked again. It's like, why that song? How did that fucking happen? You know?
My guess is it's just because that's the choice they went with to title the charity.
Right.
So it's kind of like, now they feel like they should play at least the benefit show.
We got to do something with this shit.
And so now it's kind of become a part of it again since.
And it seems to me like this is greater than the original version. Like bigger. Like I could see them doing this in the future. Like in live shows.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of one of my thoughts.
And that's the only song from St. Anger on the set list, right? For S&M 2, I think.
Thank God.
Yeah. But yeah, so looking forward to hearing that here in a couple weeks. But also, do you watch the shows every Monday or just every once in a while?
No, I think I watched like the first one, didn't even finish it.
Okay.
Dude, it's like I've seen so much shit over 31 years I've been a fan.
Right.
You know, it's like if I miss some shit, that's going to happen. And it's all, what am I doing Monday night? I don't know. You know, I never know what I'm doing.
Right.
You know, I could be drunk. I could be sober. I could be doing yard work. I could not be doing anything.
Well, I mean,
I never think about it.
You can watch them all later.
Yeah, and you can. So.
But I just think, it's cool they got kind of creative there for a bit. Like 2 or 3 weeks ago, they had the one that was from the Justice Tour, and it was filmed by one of their crew members.
Right. Like
from the side of the stage and then in the crowd. And then.
And it goes to show you all these bands have so much probably in the can that you don't even know about.
Yeah.
And that's fucking cool.
And one thing I wanted to mention is this, I think it was just like a week ago, last Monday, I, got the alert thing in text or whatever that said, coming tonight, a show from the Madly in Anger tour or whatever.
Right.
It was the St. Anger tour, basically. And I'm like, and it wasn't far from 7, so I just pulled it up on my phone. I'm like, I'm going to watch this just in case it's from Wichita.
Right.
Since we went. And of course it was from like Germany. But anyway, all the other ones I've seen parts of them or a little bit after the fact, but this is the first one I saw the full intro. And I don't know if it's always Lars or if it's a different one of them each time, but Lars was like doing a long kind of
I think intro I don't know.
He talked about St. Anger and about S&M 2 and about the drive-in thing. Mm-hmm. I brought this up because when he's sitting there talking, he's sitting behind his drum kit in like the rehearsal place, and he starts talking, and the snare's like doing that thing, when you have mics around you talking, it's like yeah, and he's like, he's like, I gotta get the mic off, and he like, that's something. He's like, all right, that's better, and he hits it a couple of times. He's like, anyway, we'll get to that, but there's something about the snare that goes along with the show we're about to show you. And I was like, oh, he's like talking about it. And then he talks about all this other stuff, and then he comes back and he's like, hits the snare a couple times. He's like, that's not right. And then he does something, I don't know, and then hits it, and it sounds like the St. Anger snare. And
he took the snare off of it is what he did.
Yeah, he's like, there you go. He's like, that's a good segue into what you're about to hear.
Well, I will say, you can say whatever you want about St. Anger, but that tour, they had a lot of great set lists.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember.
We got a lot of gems on that one.
Yeah. I remember we got Well, we got Bleeding Me like at the show we were at, and I know there was a couple other ones that were really cool. But you're I'm sure you're a Metallica fan. You've seen all this stuff, but there's some pretty interesting stuff on YouTube now. So if you're ever bored one night and you put in Metallica Live, you're going to get like 5,000 options.
No shit, man.
Just from the past 4 months.
Yeah.
And it's kind of spread their entire career, so that's cool. Hopefully I'm sure they'll keep it going for a few months anyway.
Yeah.
All right, speaking of Metallica, way back in the day, supposedly they asked John Bush to be their vocalist.
Right.
Wall Hetfield wanted to just play rhythm guitar. That would have been fucking crazy, but, you know, as a diehard fan of John Bush, and I love Metallica a hell of a lot, I'm glad it didn't happen.
Right,
because we got Armored Saint continued, and of course we got
all the Anthrax gloriousness.
Yeah, that whole era. And now we've been getting Armored Saint on a more consistent level, even though it's been 5 years since the last album. That's still shorter than it used to be back with Armored Saint.
Exactly.
But yeah, 5 years ago we got When Hands Down, and they just announced here in this past week that their new album is coming. Is it October 23rd?
I think so.
Let me look at my notes here. Yes. Punching the Sky comes out October 23rd. And they just released this past week, End of the Attention Span. They released a single and a video for it. And it's fucking great.
Yeah, it's great. It's what you'd expect. It's old school, thrash. These guys are, one of the masters of it. And this was no different.
Yeah.
And the video was great, and it's really it's just a call to kind of how shit is nowadays. We're all glued to our phones or screens or whatever, and
I assume that's only more now.
Right. Oh yeah, totally. And the song, and John Bush is such an amazing vocalist, and you can't say enough good shit about this.
Yeah. Yeah, musically it's on point. They always are, and his vocals are just. Every time I talk about it, I feel like I'm fanboying out because the guy is just like literally probably my favorite heavy metal singer of all time.
Right. Yeah.
If you don't consider Mike Patton a heavy metal singer.
And I love that there's, both guitar players can solo. They switch off solos. That's fucking great.
Yeah, this is a band that's really never done anything subpar, and this just continues that.
Exactly.
And I can't wait to hear this. I mean, this is like... It's something we always say when we're looking ahead to shit, but this is one of those things I imagine will be like a year-end, like definitely top 10 or 15 album,
For sure.
Because if this song's any indication in their previous work, even their most recent stuff, When Hands Down, was excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. If you haven't checked it out, like Jason said, check out the video because it plays into the whole social media screen, not paying attention to everybody and everything around you.
Yeah.
Just like the title says. So give this thing a listen. You'll dig it. Another new song that came out a couple weeks ago, Blackstone Cherry.
Right.
And they released a song called Again. And their new album is coming out October 30th. And what did you say it was called?
The Human Condition.
Okay. You listened to it before me and said, I think you'll like this one more because it's a little less bluesy. But
yeah, I knew you and JC would like it more. It's more, riffier and heavier. I like kind of how they went more rootsier and
it's kind of like a blues-based rock band.
Blues-based thing on the last record, and you could tell they were going that way. But this is more kind of a return to the riffage, the heavier side of them.
Yeah.
But thank God, also not being as cheesy. Like White Trash Millionaire, Blame It on the Boom Boom. And don't get me wrong, I love all that shit, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. It seems like over the last 2 or 3 albums, they've kind of shifted away from that anyway.
Thank God. And I think the solo's great. Chris Robertson is an amazing soloist, as well as singer. And he's got some pretty cool wails vocally before the solo, that some places he goes vocally that I think is really cool. I'm not the biggest fan of kind of the drop down pre-chorus. It kind of gets a little mellow, but you can't deny the riff. The main riff is just fucking, just swinging balls.
Right.
So I love this band, and I'm not gonna. This is great. So
yeah,
and you also have to think, it's not about where I want them to go. It's not about where I want a band to go. you've got to let them do what they want to do. And you have to trust in that band, and they're going to take you in the right place, as long as it's what they want to do.
Right.
And, I think that about all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, I'm totally on board with this single.
Yeah. Yeah, the last album, that song Burnin', is like one of my favorite Black Stone Cherry songs ever.
Right.
But like you said, overall, I like the album, but I like the stuff like this a little bit better.
Yeah.
And so I would have been fine either way they'd, go. And this isn't this isn't an indication that the whole album's going to be like that.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? But it's just nice to know that if you listen to the whole breadth of everything they've done, you know that they can go in and out and back and forth.
Yeah.
They have the freedom to do all this now. And that's really what you want as an artist, I think.
Yeah. Because, they've had songs that, back in My Blood was on, CMT? Didn't that get played, on country music television? It was in, their top 10 videos at some point or something?
Wasn't it that...
When they did,
the Southern Fried Friday Night or some shit?
That was after that.
No, it was recorded by a country artist.
Oh,
In My Blood. I can't remember. Wasn't In My Blood heavy?
No, that's a ballad.
No.
But, it's kind of got a heavy chorus.
Never mind, I don't know.
But I could be thinking of a wrong song. But that was from, the third album.
Yeah.
The one with, like you mentioned, White Trash Millionaire.
Right.
Boom, boom. But they had that one song that got covered by
Yeah, some bro country douche. I don't know.
But I think it was the slow.
I can't remember.
We talked about it.
Well,
before.
I know they did one big summer tour, some summer shed tour with some big bro country dude.
Okay.
And I get that totally.
Yeah.
So hey.
But see, like you said, they could do that. These guys could These guys could go on tour with freaking Buddy Guy. Yeah. Even though he's not going on tour. But you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
They could go on tour with a classic blues artist. They could go on tour with a bro country artist. And then they could go on tour with fucking Seven Dust.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you want, really. And that's the freedom you want. And, personal note, the song, this is, again, their diversity. The whole Things My Father Said song.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, get out of here. Tears. Just tears.
Right.
And it's, that's what they do,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We could go on about songs from this band forever, but maybe
I'm
once
not
the
sure
album
if you guys have realized this by now, but we are fans of this band.
Right. Since that debut with First Time I Heard Lonely Train.
Right.
But maybe someday off that album.
Yeah.
Might be still my favorite song there is, but they've done stuff that's actually better, but that's just that song that just stuck with me forever.
Rolling On? Come on.
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
I mean, fuck.
That kind of brings up a random point, when we saw him open for Black Club Society. That's on that first tour.
Yeah, you went up to John Fred.
Yeah, and I had him sign my ticket. I just, made some comment about how I like the album, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, "What's your favorite song?" And I said, "Rolling On." He's like, "You're the 10th person to say that in the past few days."
Well, it's the goddamn truth.
And he's like, "And we don't play it." I'm like, "Well, that's probably a sign, you should." So. But I don't know if they ever have or not. Never have when we've seen them. I don't think.
Right.
But what else? So speaking of Seven Dust, I mentioned them a minute ago. They just announced that their album, they announced it a couple weeks ago, that Blood and Stone is coming out on October 23rd as well.
Right. And here's something else. If I can just, what we discussed, I was seeing pre-order vinyl bundles for Armored Saint, Blackstone Cherry, and Seven Dust. It's fuck me, my debit card's gonna hate me. Right? And it's I haven't ordered shit, but it's so tempting, and there's all this stuff, and it's really cool. It's so cool to see it come out, even though I'm not buying it.
Yeah,
that sounds so fucked up.
Well, no, I get it. I mean, vinyl is back. I mean, we talked about that. Everybody knows that. Over the past few years, it's it's back now where it used to be. Everything is released on vinyl as well as digital, compact disc, whatever.
If I see it, I just keep scrolling, or I'm just going to be broke.
Yeah.
It's that's cool, but I'm just going to keep going.
I'm not going to lie. There's been several bands that I went through the whole process of entering my info, checking out, and right
And then
before I hit
yeah,
I'm like, no, I backed out. I'm like, I'll do it later. And
dude,
then
I've been there. You're exactly right.
Right.
The last big thing I did was the S&M2 box set. And I'm like, okay, I gotta stop. This
Right.
is dumb. You know?
But regardless of whether I pre-order Seven Dust or not, I will get this because it's
Right.
fucking Seven Dust.
Yeah.
That's another band that, man, is this the 13th album, I think? It's
I
like
don't
in a
even
crazy
know at
amount
this
for
point.
a band that's been around, or their first album came out in 97.
Yeah.
So 23 years. I think this is the 13th album, so you're like looking at less than every other year.
Right.
They never disappoint, in my opinion.
No, not at all.
And they,
You know, and we've heard, you know, their cover of Dad Tried to Live is going to be on this.
yeah,
We've heard that.
That's the only thing.
I can't wait to hear, you know, I'm sure they're going to release a single or two before.
Yeah,
I can't wait to hear it.
I should just like cut in or talk about The Day I Tried to Live from when we did that like a month ago.
Yeah, right? No shit.
Right here. But
Yeah, right here. Yeah, no, we stood out here last night and grilled burgers and listened to fucking nothing but Seven Dust on Shuffle
oh, nice.
the whole time. I mean, but anyways, that's just...
I think I told you that I did that like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was on a kick where I listened to like them for like 2 days straight.
I mean, you can't go wrong, dude.
Yeah. And it's an easy band to put on shuffle because there's not.
There's never going to be like, fucking skip that one.
Yeah. And now with all this downtime, I believe they had this album ready to go like earlier in the year.
Right.
Because I remember reading that. I could be wrong on that, but I read something recently. I can't remember what it was about Lejean's solo album that's been talked about for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And I assume with this kind of downtime that hopefully that's something he's able to complete because I'm really interested to hear that.
Me too.
Because he said I'm sure it's going to have some heavy elements, but it's going to be obviously different.
Yeah.
And that guy has the vocals to do whatever the hell he wants.
Exactly. And, you know, like you said, the whole Dad Tried to Live, go back and listen to that.
Yeah.
I mean, we love that, so whatever.
I'm not lying. I listen to that
We don't need to go into it again.
at least once a day, probably.
Yeah, it's so good.
Like whenever the Spotify rap thing comes at the end of the year, I'm guessing that'll be my number one song. That's not an exaggeration.
Nice.
I'm counting on that fact. That's probably going to end up being my number one song of the year. So.
That and Bo Nasty.
Of course. Now that they're on Spotify, I can crank it up.
Right.
But all right, so Devil Driver just released they released a new single.
This is all you. I haven't listened to it yet.
You didn't listen. It's great.
You go ahead.
I know you've been.
I'm back and forth on
Yeah,
Dez and
it's like
his.
you like
I don't
Devil
know.
Driver,
So
but
I
you're
like
not
some
like
of it. I don't. You know what? I don't know.
you're not like me where you're like there
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but you know, it's just one of those things.
But this
Sometimes
new,
I get to it, sometimes I don't.
the new song "Nest of Vipers," it's not anything that if you don't like Devil Driver, it's going to make you like him.
Right.
But it's a really good song, and it's just typical Devil Driver. It's even got a little more melody, I think, than usual, which is kind of cool. I think they had actually released another single here a month or something ago, but I forgot the title of that one. But the album is called Dealing with Demons, and it's out October 9th. And that's everything we've just mentioned is October, except for Metallica.
Right.
Armored Saint, Blackstone Cherry, Seven Dust, and Devil Driver all have new albums coming out in October. So
You gotta love that.
yeah. We'll get a barrage of new, because there's been some great new stuff this year, but on a whole, the amount is a lot less because of everything going on. A lot of bands have either got stalled in the middle of making it or their record label pushed it back, like Hatebreed and these other
Exactly.
Seven Dust, Black Country Communion. The Dead Daisies got bumped to January.
Sure did.
Anyway. All right, after all these albums that are coming out soon, we've actually got one that came out here just a couple weeks ago, and that is the new Avatar.
Yeah, what do you think?
Hunter Gatherer, I think it's great. They're another band that's just kind of like, it sounds like we're repeating ourselves when we're talking about bands like Seven Dust and Blackstone Cherry or whatever, but they don't really put out subpar music.
Right.
And the cool thing about Avatar is that every single album, it's kind of like what you would get from like Faith No More or The Cult or something, where every album's just got a different sound, but you still know who you're listening to.
Exactly. I think that's very accurate. And that's not something that you can come by easily. So that's something that's really admirable of these guys.
Right.
And also, Johannes, his vocals, it's absolutely amazing what this guy does with every album.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's guttural, brutal, or, a song like Gun, which I think is fucking beautiful. And I think the message is fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
And that song really stood out to me. I enjoyed the fuck out of this record.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing about Gun. Like, you're just kind of like, oh, well, this is different, but it's fucking great.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, when I first heard Colossus as like a single before that, I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And you hear it in here, and it's like,
Jesus.
I don't know. I didn't pay attention enough to the words to realize if this is some kind of concept thing like the last couple.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, they're just one of those bands that somehow I don't know, obviously they don't they probably don't sit around and write these songs in order, but it's like, there's a million albums where it's like, this is the perfect order for these songs. But I've heard other albums where I'm like, I'd switch these songs right here.
Mm-hmm.
But Avatar, it's one of those bands where it's always just like every song complements the song before it and after.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the last track, Wormhole,
Oh, man. Jesus. Yeah.
But yeah, these guys definitely, hopefully once, live music's happening again, get a chance to see them again. I've seen them a few times, and they're just a sight to behold when it comes to the live show as well.
Right.
And we were lucky enough to have Johannes on the podcast a few years ago, and that's a very cool one to check out. And we even talked about that whole concept album thing.
Right.
Back then. And they've had, this is the second new album they've had since then, so.
Yep.
But yeah, definitely check that one out if you have not. But yeah, this Avatar album is another great one in a long line of great. And I mean, there's even a couple songs on here that I think harken back to Avatar way back, before they kind of shifted their sound to what they're at now.
Right.
When they were just like more heavy and it was more guttural all the time. Kind of even gave me that feel.
I see.
But they're, like you said, they're one of those bands you can span the gamut and it sounds great no matter what. All right, so another new song we got recently is from Anti-Mortem. And the song is called Old Washita.
Yeah.
And this one, I didn't even realize was coming until you just sent me the YouTube
Sent to you
video.
last night, right?
No, it was a few days ago, I think. Was that last night?
Oh, fuck me.
I'm behind. All my days are running together. Regardless, it was
okay.
in the past few days. And yeah, it's another, sound like a broken record, but if you like Anti-Mortem, you're going to like this song.
Right.
Kind of like we said with these other bands and their new stuff, it's good stuff. I mean, what were your thoughts hearing it?
I thought it was great. The vocals were awesome. I love the melody. I love the riffing. It looks like Arik from Sign of Lies is in that band now.
Yeah.
That's cool. I guess they're back. Maybe it's something we need to delve into further or, have those guys on or something. But I guess that thing's, back in action.
Yeah. Yeah, because they took the hiatus whenever they kind of split up and formed a couple different groups. And, Zane's still doing Locust Grove, but once they got back together, keeping this thing going, and the sounds still sounds like Anti-Mortem, and they're
right.
Fantastic band that was starting to pick up some steam about the time that they broke up a few years ago. They went on that long tour with Machine Head, and I know they went on some other tours opening up for...
They went overseas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, they're back. They've done at least 2 shows in Oklahoma in the past month. They did a Tulsa and Oklahoma City date.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're coming back to the Shrine in, October, November?
Yeah.
And Driver's opening.
That's right. So yeah, get on Facebook and give these guys a follow if you're not familiar with them. I don't know what the best description for them would be. Groove metal, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, it's accessible, but it's like not douchey. I don't know.
Yeah. It's like it would work on the radio, like radio metal, but like you said, it doesn't. Yeah. It's got more grit than most of that stuff has.
Exactly.
With the vocals and the guitar sound. But it's kind of like your more accessible Pantera stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I get that. But
yeah, so check out Anti-Mortem if you have not, and check out this new song on Washita. You'll probably dig it. Or the last thing on here you wanted to talk about.
Oh yeah. As we mentioned at the top of the show, I've been kind of missing in action for a month or so. But I've listened to everything going on, and, you know, the Joyous Wolf episode struck me. Admittedly, I really didn't know a lot about this band. And it took this episode to make me look them up and all the stuff and get into them. And one thing, and I think that I've kind of mentioned this to you in so many words before, just about this kind of music, this type of rock and roll that needs to stay, needs to be around, can't go anywhere, it cannot go anywhere. And I really appreciated his words, you know, about how he hated the throwback term,
right,
the retro term. And that's nothing against you, obviously, because we've all fucking fallen into that trap of using that terminology, that vernacular when we're talking about these bands. But really, and it just kind of made me think even more about what I said to you a week or two ago when you were over here just hanging out, is, you know, about this kind of music is like, this is rock and roll. This is not throwback rock and roll. The modern rock and roll now that you hear on the radio is horse shit, and it's not real.
Right.
This is real shit. And this is what needs to not fucking die. This kind of music has to stay alive, and it has to thrive for the true pure rock and roll to always be understood.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated his words about that, and it kind of made me think about it even more and kind of agree. It kind of won me over to what he was saying. Especially as a 25-year-old guy to say that, it's like, man, this guy, he's got it figured out way more than I did when I was fucking 25. Right. So I really appreciated it. And then anyways, you know, just digging into their stuff, I really enjoyed them. So, you know, I was glad to hear that episode. I thought you did a great job, and I really love that band now. I think they're great.
Yeah.
So that's kind of all I wanted to say.
Oh, yeah. I get that, too. Because as soon as he said that, I was thinking, it's like, I shouldn't have said that, but I'm glad I did, because it gave him the chance to explain that in a way.
Explain that. Yeah, no,
because,
exactly.
Like, his point about Soundgarden was good, too, because it's like, when Soundgarden came out, before the hits, you know, the first couple albums,
yeah,
you know, your Loud Love, your Ultra Mega OK, this was just Black Sabbath.
Right.
You know, with a better singer.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
And, you know, I mean, it had its differences, but it was heavily rooted in that. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until Bad Motorfinger that they kind of found their own thing in a way.
Right.
At the same time, like when the Black Crowes came out, I mean, that was at that time kind of a throwback to your Aerosmith and your you know, the band or whatever, just stuff from like the 70s. But people weren't really saying, oh, here's a throwback band called the Black Crowes. And
exactly.
I mean, and even like we have now with like Joyous Wolf and Dirty Honey, Rival Sons, Greta Van Fleet, you know, there's a long list of the bands, Tyler Bryant. You know, there was a scene like that in the early 90s, too, with the Black Crowes, Cry of Love, Brother Kane.
Yep.
Maybe even Jackal to an extent.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, you're right. You're exactly right.
You know, it's like, even though it's back at least getting some mainstream exposure, there's always bands like this around.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that term just gets thrown in there because it's like all of a sudden these bands are getting attention, and they have that old school rock and roll sound.
Yeah.
Like you said, it shouldn't be considered old school. It should just be considered the sound of rock and roll, right?
Yeah. I mean, it is rock and roll.
Yeah.
And it's like, without that, we have fucking nothing.
Yeah.
We don't have metal. We don't have anything.
Right.
We don't have indie. We don't have alternative. We have nothing. And that's what really needs to be remembered, especially now when, you know, everyone wants to fucking be a DJ, or, you know, they want to fucking do tracks and have screens and fucking, I don't know, want to be, God knows, I don't have any fucking clue.
Right.
I mean, I have a clue right now, and like 3 or 4 bands come to mind, but I'm not going to say it.
Right. You know, I kind of mentioned it when I was talking on that episode, but like you just mentioned, I think a lot of this, you know, at least from his standpoint, Nick, the singer, you know, he's got that wide range of stuff that he grew up on, especially for someone his age to like be that immersed in everything from the 40s to now.
Right.
is something you don't get from a lot of people that age or any age, really.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what?
So his music knowledge is there.
It's something he mentioned, if you listen to the shit they put out and then you listen to the new song Odyssey, he's right. He has grown leaps and bounds in his vocals.
Yeah, just a
He
little over
really
a year.
has. It's amazing. And that, what was her name? Melissa Cross or something Cross?
Yeah.
That's the one that always helps all the screamers out, like, Randy Bly and all that kind of shit.
Yeah, I knew as soon as he said that, I'm like, I know that name.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember why.
And so, yeah, I mean, dude, great band. That was a great interview. So, yeah, I just kind of wanted to touch on that.
Well, good deal. I'm glad it turned you into a fan as well. Well, anything else we want to talk about before we get out of here?
I think that wraps it up.
Well, if you haven't listened to that Nick Reese episode, it was just the very last one, 281. And before that, we had Glenn Hughes on here from everything.
I mean, come on.
Deep Purple to Black Sabbath to Black Country Communion to the Dead Daisies.
Right.
And the Dead Daisies have a EP that came out. We should talk about that, but anyway, a few weeks ago with acoustic tracks on it. That's great stuff if you haven't. Did I just say Dead Daisies or Black Country Communion? Regardless.
I don't even know.
The Dead Daisies, if that's not what I said. They have a EP with 4 acoustic tracks on it, so check that out. But yeah, 200 over 80 episodes you can check out. Like we mentioned earlier, Johannes from Avatar has been on here. We were talking about Seventh Dust. John Connolly's been on here. We haven't had anyone from Devil Driver or Blackstone Cherry or Metallica, but...
One day.
Yeah.
One day we'll get James Hetfield.
That's right. We'll talk about all kinds of great stuff. Cars, politics, haircuts. Whatever.
Right. Exactly. Rehab.
That's the other cool thing about seeing these Monday night Metallica things is every time James Hetfield's hair is different, which is cool.
I know. It's like,
that's always been that way. But
which James Hetfield are you going to get today?
Yeah.
Right?
But yeah, we've had on Gene Simmons from Kiss, had on Dizzy Reed of Guns N' Roses, and speaking of Guns N' Roses, our very next episode will be with Brando, the host of the Guns N' Roses podcast, Appetite for Distortion. That'll be later this week, so check that out. And yeah, guys from a host of bands. I listed a few of them. You can figure it out.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. SoundCloud.com/Thunder-Underground, Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn, Mixcloud. Most places podcasts are heard. TheThunderUnderground.com. You can check it out there. You can also find all our socials there. So follow us on all our socials. That helps us out as well. Anything you see us post, if you just like it, that helps us spread the word around as well. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube. We've got a lot of stuff on there that is specific for YouTube that's not on the podcast, so check that out. And yeah, I think that covers it. Once again, I was about to say thank you to whoever we had on the podcast.
We just had me
I was
and
trying
you.
to think of who was the
Right.
PR? Who do I need to thank?
Thanks to Ice Water and All Day IPA.
That's right. And you started with Dell's, right?
Yeah, I did. Thanks to Dale's Pale Ale.
Yeah. Cheap, free advertising here.
Right?
For water, All Day IPA, and Dell's Pale Ale.
Exactly.
But yeah, so thank you to all those things. And then, of course, thank you to Med Farm, Sunset Tattoo, Hella Hot Sauce, and DEB Concerts. And until next time.
Thunder Underground, y'all.